Romo, and I'm here with my good friend Gary Barnes, who we met over a decade ago now. We
You know,
missed our anniversary.
it's scary when we start talking about decades, and yeah.
Yep, those long days at the Westin and the LAX.
And again, we won't tell some stories from there right now. That for a later date.
Yes, exactly. So you've been a business coach a long time.
A very long time, and it's something that I never really woke up one morning and said, "This is what I want to do." It was an organic transition because people saw what I did in my own businesses and wanted to find out what it was that I did to build my businesses, number one, so quickly and then to a high level. And so originally I just said, hey, buy me a hamburger and I'll spill my guts. And it transitioned from that. And now it's an international business and we produce events. I hate writing and I'm credited with 10 books now. I mean, you got a whole bunch of books on your own. And I mean, I don't know that we woke up, graduating from high school or college and said, oh, this is what I'm going to be doing. But I think it's a lot more fun when it's a little more organic in how we can impact not only businesses but lives and families, and helping people really to enjoy what they are creating instead of just running around with their, where they inherited the worst boss in the world, them, and they don't have to do that.
Yeah. And what's different about you is you actually ran businesses and then you became a business coach. You didn't become a business coach and try to start a business.
Yeah, I went to the school that you never really graduate from, that school of hard knocks. And but yeah, I think that is something that really separates me from a lot of the different processes out there. Is that I am teaching what I know has worked. And one of the things that I have always said too, when I share, I say this is my way, not the way. So we want to be able to customize to the people that people serve, their personality, what resonates with them, because there's so many different ways of doing things. But most people are really good at what they deliver. I mean, whatever that product or service is, they're phenomenal. Where the disconnect is being a business owner, and also how to translate being that business owner to the marketplace. Because and I think you and I relate to this too. We hate blowing our own horn. I mean, you invited me on the LinkedIn live here, and I said yes because it's easier for you to bring me on than for me to go out and say, hey, look at me. And so there are very definite ways to be seen. And the three keys that we had talked about before is that be seen, be safe, be relevant. And inside of that, there's a lot of wiggle room about how to actually put that into practice.
That's Lila asking questions from the background, too.
Yeah, mine's in the other room, just comatose. I mean, it's morning and he's already just laying out. I want his life.
Yeah, yeah. Lila, go back to sleep.
Makes it life is real.
Right, exactly. So we were talking about the three keys of successful businesses, and you have so much to share about that.
Well, part of it is the first key of being seen is really the permission to step into your light, is to allow people to see not only what you have, but how it is relevant to them. Some things that I've been teaching for about 2.5 years now, I realized there was a formula here that I call so what to so that. So let's say that we were just talking about dentists. And where I'm a dentist, come in, we all know we should go in, get our teeth cleaned and all this other stuff. All of that is a so what. And if we don't translate it into a so that, people have a tendency to only come in when there's an emergency, when there's the pain gets so great that they have no other choice of coming in. So by translating that, like being in business, if you have a dental procedure that enhances your smile, doing something to where you're not covering your mouth or whatever it might be,
Mhm.
translates into being able to show up in a different way and actually being able to connect with people faster. And the so what to so that is in two levels. That is, what is your so that? We talk about making money. I was speaking on a cruise to a financial planning um, convention conference, and there was a gentleman there that said, okay, his goal was to have $1 million in the bank. And I said, okay, why? And he said it will give him security. So he went from the so what of the money to security. And I asked one more question. I said, will it? And he started to speak and it got stuck in his throat. And then he looked at me and goes, damn you. And then 2 weeks later, he did hire me. But the thing is that he hadn't gone far enough into the so that of what it meant for him personally. And so the so what is the logic, the so that is the emotional. Now we do that for ourselves, but then we do that for our clients. And that's how we design how we're being seen, the communication of what it is that we have that's a benefit for them. And I think we are, for a lot of us, we are taught not to be seen. We,
Yeah.
we, we are taught to shut up, sit down after our parents want us to walk and talk. But we have this resistance because we don't want to be seen as egotistical.
Yeah. And timing's everything with this. 'Cause you've talked about financial advisors. There's some local ones here. They have those Saturday morning shows, and they keep talking about, are you prepared if the market corrects like 2008? Like now they keep running those same ads. Like, wait a minute, we've already had a correction. You're not.
Yeah,
It's too late
well,
to prepare.
they keep changing the definition of recession. So
Right.
this in the well, what we're looking at there, that's the traditional spin. How to what do they say? Covering a duck with something to make it look something different, but underneath it's still a duck. Um, and so they're wanting to take away the fear instead of saying, okay, it's a rough ride. Let me show you how we're going to get through it because everything has a beginning and everything has an end. And so it's not going to be fun, but we're going to weather the storm together. And I'm going to show you how to maximize what you have to still get the result of what you're wanting, your retirement, your education for your children, to be able to leave a corpus of monies for your grandchildren, great grandchildren to start, whatever it is.
Right.
They focus on this other, saying, well, it's not that bad, we can still do it. Now, if anybody owns certain assets, we know that I have a part of my portfolio that's gone down 75%. Well, that doesn't feel good right now, but I know it's cyclical. And I had positioned it to where if it went to zero, I still had the asset and eventually it would come back up. So, but yeah, the words and how we describe it, that's so that and making it personal for the individual and just instead of wanting to convince them because well let me back up what you're describing is they're wanting to make it okay for people to still invest so they can have money so they're concerned about their so that and when you do that you have a tendency to break confidence because that goes into the second key of being or being safe and that's no agenda. You and I have been friends, like you said, a very long time. And it's a friendship was created without an agenda. There was no hook. It wasn't, what can I get from you or you're not, what can I get from me? And, from that, I've had you on my stage here at my events where we're coming up in September. How many has it been? Like 9 times?
I lost track.
And so it shows that it's my trust in you in the relationship that allows that connection to expose you in a good way, expose you to the audience that comes at the event itself,
Yeah.
because it's a reflection of me. And so what we're doing is that second stage is we always have an agenda of wanting to really receive the revenue to whatever the end result we're looking for. But if we don't connect on a human level to where we're really wanting to know that person as a human being, this I call it the story behind the story.
Hmm.
And when you understand them, they will share with you what it is that really is their pain points or their desires. And I love, like you, we connect a lot of people. And it's part of our modality. This is what we do, but we don't do it because we're going to get a payment, a referral fee, or whatever. We just make a lot of those connections where it's just because it's the right thing to do.
We don't keep score.
Yeah, I have way too much on my plate to keep score.
One
But
thing I've noticed over the years is like 2008, Perry Marshall said everybody was like their businesses were collapsing. They stopped spending. He intentionally grew his business during the downtime. And a lot of smart businesses, I see him doing it right now again. Things have slowed down. The economy goes up and down. And some people, when the economy goes down, they just stop and freeze. The smart businesses are investing in their business, so they'll come out of this way ahead of their competition.
well, it's what you just said. You made the distinction that people quit spending in their business instead of investing in their business.
Right.
My business is, like going through COVID, there was those ups and downs. We had to adjust to the situation, numbers of people that could come to a live event or, whatever it was. But my business, because it had a wider base outside of just one product or service, that we were still able to serve our clients and on an international basis. And my revenue in the firm did a little bit of adjustment, but it wasn't big. And so it was still allowing me to do my mission of impacting businesses and lives and stay the course instead of shutting it down, like you're saying, and then people have to start over if they have the internal fortitude to last. And maybe they're just, okay, real estate right now. Look at what's happening within the market. Now it's getting to be what really to me is a normal market, or starting to be somewhat of a normal market. And we're seeing a lot of these agents saying, "Well, this is not what I signed up for," and now they're looking for other opportunities.
Yeah.
And so they have this ebb and flow within themselves, and that doesn't give a lot of confidence for people to stay connected to them.
Yeah, the successful people I see, they're diversified and they don't blame other people when things change because they just move forward. Like you adapted, you figured it out. That hotel closed like 2 days before your conference, and you didn't blame them. You didn't cry and poor me, poor me. You just said, hey, okay, we'll figure this out.
That was an interesting situation. And what happened, guys, is that the hotel went into bankruptcy, and it was part of a system that also owned the Queen Mary in Long Beach. And so I had all these people coming in. We had to move, and anyone that has ever produced a major event, that's not easy. But it's like, we could sit and, like you said, bemoan and cry, and it's not fair. And I've always told my kids, it's not fair, but nobody promised it would be.
Right.
And we still had a phenomenal event. And even like with COVID, where we could only have 50 people in a room of a ballroom of 1,200 square feet. I mean, it was like, you know, who didn't get the invitation, but we still did it because people still needed that connection. And so you there's an old adage: you make a decision and then you make the decision right, and it just gives you more resiliency to know that you can overcome. Because adversity is, I just wrote a note to myself. I'm known for my Garyisms. Is opportunities are the seeds of, oh golly, what was it? I have to get it. I'm going to be posting it on my. But it was a different way of looking at adversity as or obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's normal. That is something that we're going to be dealing with. It's never going to be just roses and candy canes, and it just isn't. And so the more that we have these experiences and know that we can facilitate through them, as I own one of the largest financial planning firms in the country for over 30 years. And so we went through some major downturns. We went through 9/11 when I realized that, number one, I had over $100,000 overhead that I was not able to receive a dime anymore because Wall Street shut down. But I still had that need and obligation and responsibility to serve my clients. So I had my staff and I had my clients. I was the third person in line. But I knew that it always was going to have an end. I didn't know what the end would look like, but I knew that if I stopped, it would be fatal. Getting stuck is normal. Staying stuck is fatal. And so by keeping the momentum as much as I could, gave me the opportunity to stay in business for a very long time.
Yeah. This is a perfect time for your boot camp that's coming up next month. Which number 48?
No, don't make it that much. It's number 41.
41. Okay.
And I only do them once a year now. I used to do them. You and I had the same coach in the day, and he had me doing them 4 times a year. And then I went, no, I can't do this. I was wearing me out and my people. So we went to 3 times a year, and then 2 times a year, and now just once a year. And so, yeah, it's been a, a labor of love in many ways
Yeah.
because it is something that we've had some people come back over 25 to 30 times. I mean, it just, and people have asked me, are you not that good in, what you're delivering, or are they that dumb? And I go, it's neither one. It's that every time someone comes back, they are literally in a different space and will hear things differently. Plus, I keep doing things a little bit of it. I have 2 or 3 new sections in the boot camp coming up in September now because I get bored. I want to have, a little bit of a change as well.
Hmm. Yeah, this is good because, like I said, you come 3 times or 5 times and you hear different things each time. Like right now, people are in different stages of their business. Maybe it's doing well, maybe it's not doing well, but it lets them just kind of step back, take a few days away from their business and say, okay, here's what I want to do for the next 2 or 3 years. You can't even plan 5 years ahead anymore in business.
No. Well, and back to the how you and I connected was at an event. And so the part of the equation that people miss is the connections within the room.
Yeah.
And sometimes it has nothing to do. Yeah, we got benefit from being a part of that organization, but the reality is that the long term benefits was the people that we met, built relationships with, and still have those. And so, there's a lot of different reasons for me anyway, to attend events, and I still attend events. And in fact, today, this afternoon, I'll be at another event. And so it's one of those things that it's not what do you do? People ask me, what's the magic to, staying in business and being or profitable? And they said, should we do social media? Should we do LinkedIn Lives, Facebook Lives? Should we do ads? Should we do speaking, writing, whatever? I go, yes, because our audience, and we really learned this also from our former coach. He had this concept of, and I expanded. I don't go fishing with a hook. I go fishing with a net because I don't know where my perfect client is.
Yeah.
And because of that, I have all kinds of demographics because I work with people that have risen to a level where they're no longer able to go above that level. And some people call it stuck, some people, that level of competency. And it's just knowing what it is to get them to that because they've never been there. And
Yeah.
it's okay. I was on a call last week with a group, and I was put into a room where someone asked about corporate training, and I was the only one in the group that had ever done it. And it's okay. I was able to facilitate to that. But
Yeah.
in order to do that, the things that we don't know, we just don't know.
Yeah.
And I want to give the third key for success real quick here too before somebody analytical says we didn't do all three. It is the
I'm
third key.
getting emails already. No.
Right now is to be relevant, and there's two sides of being relevant. Number one, does your community, does your avatar, the perfect person that you want to work with or in the type of industry, do they have a need? But that's just the first part. The second part is do they have a desire? And normally that is around whether or not they're in enough stress or pain or stuckness, if that's even a word, to where they're willing to adjust what they're doing to be able to get a different result.
Right.
And so that third part is really important about the actuation of the information or your product that you have for them. Because a lot of people, and you and I have seen so many people that go to programs and they buy systems and whatever, and they never apply any of it. They just look for that magic bullet over and over again.
Right.
And those of us that have been around for a little bit realize that it doesn't happen. There is no such thing. And so it's that customization, and everybody has the ability to really succeed. I mean, we look at the folks that come here from other countries, and within a generation, their children are professionals. They have money in the bank. They
Yeah.
see the opportunities that those of us that have the privilege of being born here, they don't. We don't see it. We see it as normal, but
Yeah.
they see it as extraordinary, and they take hold of the opportunity. And sometimes, depending upon the culture, the those of us that have had the privilege of being born here will say, "Well, you're weird and wrong, or somehow," but really is we could have done it too. And so that opportunity is still alive and well here in the United States and in other industrialized countries as well. Actually, even in countries where there's not a lot of opportunity, we're seeing people take hold of microloans and doing things and really creating a higher level of stability and wealth and just circumstances for themselves, not just sitting there saying, "Please feed me."
Right. And yeah, we're both big relationship people. It's all about relationships and coming to these kind of events, you get to meet people. And it just kind of hit me how we met. I went to a Brendan Burchard conference in Santa Clara years ago. I ran into Danny Purcell, met him there. We became friends. He invited me to the conference you were at all the time, and that's how we met. So it's relationships formed at these conferences.
Well, and Tom Antion, if we go all the way back to Tom, that's how I got involved with the group. That it just there's a synchronicity of people that are searching, people that are willing to be taught. People, the worst thing that someone can tell me anymore, and I get told this almost every week. Well, you've made it. And I'm going, oh, please don't. That means I'm on my way back. That means, I go, no, 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 no. There's always another level, the never ending story. What is that next so that? And that's
Right.
why I keyed into the so what to so that so much is that, there's always that new possibility, that new opportunity. In a week and a half, I'm flying in a Black Hawk helicopter.
Yeah.
And people said, well, how did that happen? I go, I was seeing somebody wanted to give me a thank you. And they called up and said, hey, do you want to do this? And I said, yes, without looking at my calendar. I mean, sometimes I call it, there's something that I teach around called the power of yes.
Hmm.
And that's actually how my TEDx happened as well, where TEDx called me to do TEDx. But what I love about the event that has evolved, it's called Breakthrough Business Mastery. It is that it really is all encompassing, and I teach exactly what it is that I have been doing and still do in all of my businesses. And it's proprietary, but it's common subjects like time management, marketing, branding, goal setting, all of these things. But it's done in a way that you can take pieces of it and apply it in anyone's business, anyone's life, and get a similar result, if not even a better result than I did.
And this is not a bright, shiny object kind of event. You're teaching old fashioned how to do business, which will always work. The bright, shiny objects come and go. But you're teaching the things we've been doing forever that have made us successful.
Oh, absolutely. And when some people say, "Well, it's old-fashioned," well, but it's old-fashioned with the application of where we are today.
Yeah.
Because if I did the things that I was doing in my practices back in 2000 or the 90s, I'm not even going to go farther back than that because that makes I'm not old. I'm just older. Uh, the If we don't adjust, then we're going to become that buggy whip or the whale oil salesperson, where it's no longer needed or wanted to the vast majority of the population. So we can go out of phase. And if we don't adjust to that, and we just say, well, people still need it, still want it, um, yeah, we're going to be left behind. So yes, it's very traditional concepts, but adjusted to today so that you can get a result that you're really looking for.
Yeah. internet and social media let us get in front of a lot more people, but it comes down to two people doing business together by forming a relationship.
And doing it without that second step for success in anything is to be safe. When you go into it, and people are so starved from being heard because we're talking at each other, not with each other. And so we're promoting, we're doing our spiel, what's in it for me, and when we take that away, and because people forever have told me I can't build my businesses the way I do, and I always say, well, let's compare checkbooks,
Mhm.
and because it's something that I have done from the very beginning. And when I have helped you, I don't expect a direct response from you to help me. It's organic. And what happens is that the permission and the desire to help is still there, but I'm safe. And when people know you're safe, they have a tendency to want to refer you. And I get referrals every single week, usually two or three,
Yeah,
to the point that I'm having a hard time getting them on the calendar to just to have a Zoom call or some sort of interaction to find out more about them.
great. So we go to GaryBarnesInternational.com. That's where we can find information about the boot camp.
Well, the direct link is www.breakthroughbusinessmastery.com. That is the direct information link for that.
Cool. Well, Gary, thank you so much for your time. You've got a busy day ahead of you.
I do. And it's going to be good to see you in September. And, if anyone has a question about the program, please reach out to me. You can reach me at Gary@GaryBarnesInternational.com. I make it real simple. It's all very similar. But we only do it once a year. So if you'd like to set yourself up, these little nuances, but not just to set yourself up for a strong finish to the year, but to put a foundation that is going to carry you with momentum into the new year.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Gary. We'll talk soon.